Hi, Tiffany. Welcome back to my Crypt Keep. It's so good seeing you. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages. I've missed you so much. It's literally crazy. I feel as though my life has been incomplete without you. And so I'm so glad that we have this time, you and I, together. You don't need to tell me that you missed me. I already know you did. So don't even worry about it. I already know. But today we have my March TBR. We have a little bit of everything once again. I'm always so ambitious with my TBRs and I very rarely ever follow them. We got a little bit of everything. We have my new book club pick for Patreon. We have a new horror, some old horror. We have a little bit of fantasy that I literally forgot I owned. So that's exciting. Anyway, I'm really excited for today's video. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love books. I'm like a huge book girl. You know that about me, right? You're probably also a huge book girl. You love a little book. And what do I love the most about books? Or about collecting books? You might be asking yourself. I know you are actually. You're asking yourself that question. Let me tell you, since you're so curious, I love getting books for a teensy tiny little price. I love getting a bargain. I love finding a little deal. And that's where today's sponsor, Book of the Month, comes in. Book of the Month, in case you don't know, is a subscription service where you get access to a new book each and every single month. Hence, Book of the Month. Book of the Month sent me a few books. They were like, Jordaline, take these books, talk about them because it needs to be talked about. And I said, of course, I would love to do that. Book of the Month. Thank you so much. These two books are books that you could potentially get for a very low price, which is, again, what I was talking about, getting a good deal. Book of the Month, she's a deal queen. These are two books. So, number one, we have Count My Lies. This is by Sophie Stava. This is about this woman named Sloane. Sloane is walking one day, right? She's like in the park or something, and she sees this kid that's crying, and she's like, child, what are you crying for? And also the kid's dad is like nearby and he's like super, super hot. So Sloane is like, oh my God, child, why are you crying? And the dad is like, she got stung by a bee or whatever. And Sloane in that moment is like, I'm a nurse. Let me help you. The only crazy thing, Tiffany, is that Sloane is not a nurse. Sloane is not in the medical field at all. Sloane is a freaking liar, like a huge liar, like a giant freaking liar with her pants on fire kind of liar. So she helps, and what do you know? She gets a job working for this hot guy and like maybe his wife to like look after their children. She becomes like a nanny based off of this lie. And the longer she works with them, the more she realizes that maybe she's not the only liar, pants on fire in this house. Maybe everyone's kind of lying about something. You could have this from Book of the Month for a very small amount of money, for a tiny itsy bitsy tiny amounts of money. What? We also need to talk about this book, which is another book that you could get from Book of the Month. That is Wild Dark Shore. This is about this family. They're like the caretakers for this place called Shearwater, a tiny island not far from Antarctica. It used to be like poppin'. People used to be at Shearwater all the time. Everybody loved it there. They're like, woo, Shearwater. But then things got a little crazy because of climate change and like the rising sea level. And so a lot of people went home, a lot of people left. After one like really bad storm, the family who were there find this woman washed up. Her name is Rowan. They like nurse her back to health. They're like, hopefully she gets better. She does. And Rowan is like, oh my God, why do I kind of like this place? Why do I kind of like the vibe? Until she notices some weirdo stuff. The dad seems to like have a lot of secrets. There's like freshly dug graves. For what reason? I don't know. As the storms on Shearwater gather force, they almost decide if they can trust one another enough to protect the precious seeds in their care before it's too late. And if they can finally put the tragedies of their past behind them to create something new together. You could get this for Book of the Month. When I look at this book, I feel like this is the kind of book that's going to be huge in 2025. I don't know why. I just get that vibe. You could get this from Book of the Month for, let me say it, $9.99. And I tell you, Tiffany, that I love Book of the Month, that I'm obsessed with Book of the Month, and I'm constantly begging them to work with me all the time because I love them so much. And they literally just like encapsulate everything about literature and bookish things that I personally love. Not only that, but each and every single month, their picks absolutely slay. Every single month, it's a 360 pussy pop. I'm not even joking, Tiffany. These are only two of the choices. There are more choices if you go to bookofthemonth.com. I'm urging you, Tiffany, to check out Book of the Month. Check out the link in my description. Go check out Book of the Month. Look at what they have and mayhaps use my code CLOVER for your first book for $9.99. If you use code CLOVER, you can get your first book of the month book for $9.99. Like, if you haven't already signed up for book of the month, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, do it now while the iron is hot, as they say. Check out the link in my description. Sign up for book of the month. Use the code CLOVER to get your first book for $9.99. Literally live your dreams. Your bookish, beautiful dreams. Thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. The first book we need to talk about, Tiffany, is my Patreon pick for March and April. And this month is special. I don't want to seem weird. I don't want to seem creepy, but also I can't help it. You know what I mean? Because like that's kind of how I feel. I kind of feel like a little bit of like a freak, but like in the best way possible. This month on the Patreon, we have Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fieto. That in itself, 100% a slay. But our co-host, tell me right now, who do you think on BookTube has the best hair? Other than me, obviously. You're right. Yeah, if you said Books and Lala, you're 100% fucking right. It's Books and Lala. Like, listen, have I been a Books and Lala fan since I was like in my mid-20s? Even though I still am in my mid-20s. Kayla, because we're on first name basis. If I keep being this weird, she's not going to want to be on the Patreon. But Kayla and I will be reading this book with my patrons, and we will be discussing it with Kayla. If you want to join the Patreon, there's always a link in the description, and you can. We do reading sprints. We're going to start doing like movie nights. There's Patreon exclusive content. We do Patreon exclusive readathons. Bro, if you're not on the Patreon, what are you doing? You can always join. There's always a link in the description. Now, Victorian Psycho seems kind of unhinged, but like in the best possible way. This is about this woman named Winifred. She is a governess. She goes and she like looks after children, or I'm not really sure what a governess does. I feel like they like kind of like babysitters, but like also educators, maybe. Anyway, Winifred gets hired by this family, the Pound family, to be a governess. And so she arrives, she enters and she's like, hello, children. She's very normal, seemingly. But actually, inside, Winifred is keeping it on a tight fucking leash because Winifred is a fucking freak. Winifred is a weirdo, but she's trying to keep it cool. She's trying not to lose her job prospects. So Winifred is like, ha ha ha, yes. I'm a normal woman with normal thoughts. Weirdly enough, though, this family, the Pound family, seems to bring it out of Winifred. She can't seem to keep her cool. And so I feel like she's going to do something. We're going to be reading this for the Patreon, and I'm so excited. I need to talk to you, though, about this novel because it just came in the mail, and I become like a fucking gremlin. A gremlin when I see this. This is The Wounded Mountain Man by Casey Cox. A normal little novella, maybe to you and your normie little face, but it's not, Tiffany. It's so much more than that. I haven't read it yet. I've like restrained myself. I've been saving it. I honestly have no idea what it's about. But generally, these books are about these like mountain men who are like hot and like live in the mountain, and they're gay. I read the first trilogy. This is like a spin-off trilogy. What I'm assuming is probably going to be a trilogy. What I want, Casey, though, in case you're watching, what I want is a full-length novel. I want a full-length fucking novel. I don't want this like teeny tiny 72-page thing. I want to see full film feature. Okay, I don't want to read the back because I want to go into it blind. All I know is that this is about a hot mountain man guy and like him finding love in the form of another man. I've owned this thriller for a long time, and let me know if you've read it. I have never heard anyone talk about it. The French Girl. This is by Lexi Elliott. This is like an old, I think like used copy that I got from like the thrift store. I've always loved the cover. I don't know why. This, from what I can understand, is about a group of people. There's 6 of them. They're all university students and they're all partying. They're all like, whoop, whoop, whoa, it's party. It's like spring break or something. There's this girl next door named Severine, but she's like next door, and they meet her and she joins them in the festivities and the fun. For Kate, who's one of the people, she like never liked this bitch, this French bitch, but she didn't really see what happened coming. So there was this huge like altercation, this like huge fight where things were never the same ever again because Severine, because this French girl went missing, disappeared, poof. And then 10 years later, these people out there living their lives, blah, 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 blah. Case is reopened with Severine's body being found in a well behind a farmhouse. Questioned along with her friends, Kate stands to lose everything she's worked so hard to achieve as suspicions mount around her. I kind of feel like Kate's fucking guilty, bro. Kate seems like a douche. This kind of reminds me of that one book with the scissors on it. But it was about knives. What the fuck was that book called? You know what I'm talking about. It reminds me of that book, but like potentially not bad. I mentioned this in my Feminine Urge, Feminine Rage book recommendations video. And since learning about it, I think I need to put this higher up on the TBR because it sounds genuinely so good. And again, you need to tell me, Tiffany, if you've read this and if you liked it. I'm not even gonna lie to you, Tiffany. The inside synopsis is like convoluted, it's super long, it's confusing. I'm confused by it. I've tried reading it multiple times and each time I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But I will tell you that this is a tour de force about powerful women, angry men, and all the ways in which girls fight against forces that try to silence them. Me, personally, that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. I'm so excited to read this. These nails specifically have got me wanting to just... I just want to be an ASMR artist that specifically just taps on everything. Anyway. I think it's time that I read this simply because I've read most of his other books. Most of them I kind of feel are like whatever. Like I liked My Heart is a Chainsaw and the sequels, but I wouldn't say that they're like my favorite books of all time. I'm really hoping and waiting for that novel from Stephen to pop off for me. Like I really liked Night of the Mannequins, loved Night of the Mannequins, but that's a novella. I want like a full-length novel by this man to reconfigure my brain. But so far, none have done it. In this, we're following Amber and Tolly. They live in Texas. It's like 1989. Things are like whatever. These are the kinds of kids, these are the kinds of teenagers who sort of slip underneath the radar. Like nobody really pays close attention to teenagers like Tolly or Amber. I believe Amber is the only native kid in her town. The only reason anyone would know about Tolly is because his father just died. Things are like whatever until all of these killings start happening in their town. For a few unbearably hot days that will resonate through the decades and even get made into a TV movie, Tolly and Amber will be famous, notorious even. Finally, everyone will know their names. I feel as though Tolly and Amber are gonna like pew pew a few people, but maybe not like pew pew, but maybe like slash slash. It says that this is Stephen Graham Jones' way of like deconstructing the slasher genre. I'm intrigued. Listen, also, can I just say something? Can I say something? Can I be vulnerable? Can I be controversial but brave? I don't like this cover. I don't like this cover at all. Like the font, not a fan. The hooded fit, not a fan. The like color of the font, not a fan. No, don't like. Also, literally also hate this. Why? I hate it. I don't like it. But either way, I'm looking forward to reading this and I hope maybe this could be like my thing with Stephen. Like this could be our way of sharing something. I honestly kind of feel like his next release, The Buffalo Hunter, is that what it's called? Is going to be that book for me. Like there's a good chance. Anyway, it's been like a year, 2 years, 3 years since I've mentioned this book, but I've owned it for so long and I've always kind of had it like in the back of my mind just because ever since I got it, I was like, what is going on with Tide Pool by Nicole Wilson? First of all, the cover, Tiffany, is insane. Look at that. Oh my God. And the premise has always captivated me, interested me, but I've never actually read it. In this, we're following this woman named Sorrow. Sorrow finds out that her brother, Henry, went missing in this place called Tide Pool. And she's like, what the fuck is going on here today in this place? What the fuck? She's like, Daddy-o, dads, Papa, I'm gonna go to tide pool and I'm going to figure out what happened to Henry. And Daddy-o, Papa, says, no, you're not. I'm gonna send some like fancy pantsy detective people to go figure it out. And she's like, nah, no, I'm gonna do it. Sorrow goes without his permission. By the way, this is like 1813. So it's like a long time ago when women weren't like, you know, respected like they are today. She's in tide pool. The people who live in tide pool don't want to look her in the fucking eye. So she's like, that's suspicious. And then a bunch of bodies come up onto the shore, just like corpses, just float up onto the sand. And then Sorrow is like, you know what? Actually, I think my papa was correct. I should get the fuck out of here. Then she meets this woman named Ada, who is sexy, okay? Sexy. She's hot. She's got like black silk and shit. She's hot. And Sorrow sees something from Ada. Like Ada shows her something. And that makes it so that Sorrow will never be allowed to fucking leave again. The residents are like, you know some shit now. So you can't leave. I need to read this. I'm gonna read this, okay? This fucking month. I also have this book, which is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. I haven't read this. I honestly kind of forgot that I owned it. Ugh, I know, it's not great. It's not great. This is about Claire. Claire is on this like spaceship. You know how it is. She is kind of bummed out. She's kind of like, ugh, this kind of sucks, because the people on the ship are about to be all made like obsolete because like robots or something are gonna like take their jobs. You know how it is. They're like, ugh, this is like kind of a bummer. And then they get like a distress signal and they're like, oh my God, we should go see what that is. Just because they're in no hurry at all to go back home. So they go check out this distress signal. And what do you know, Tiffany? It's the spacecraft that went missing 20 years ago. The Aurora, which was a luxury space liner. Okay, that literally poof, vanished. So they're like, what the fuck is going on? They go onto the ship to investigate. You probably know what's gonna happen. It's probably gonna be like some kind of like alien situation where there's something on the ship that's gonna kill them. And I love that. I've been trying and wanting to get into like space horror, like sci-fi horror. And I'm really hoping that maybe this could be that thing. I love sci-fi horror movies. Why wouldn't I love them book form? I need to like this. Let me know if you've read this and what you thought of it. This video is kind of like, what books did I forget I own kind of thing. And this is one of them. I forgot that I owned this. I literally forgot that I owned it. I thought I unhauled it, honestly, but I still own it. So yeah, this is Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Cheesemar. This is like a faux true crime kind of book where it's based on a thing that was a thing, but the way that he wrote it, it wasn't a thing. Does that make any fucking sense? So it's 1988. Bodies are piling up. People are dying. There's like some kind of freaky, deaky killer on the loose. A rumor soon begins to spread that evil stalking the local teens is not entirely human. So that's like where we're started. And then enter Richard Cheesemar, okay? Motherfucker is a character in his own book. So he shows up and he's like, hey, what the fuck? In the midst of preparing for his wedding and embarking on a writing career, he finds himself thrust into a real life horror story. I feel like this is fiction. This is fiction, right? The only Richard Cheesemar I've read is Gwendy's Button Box, which I was not like a huge fan of. I was like, what? Who cares? Like that's the vibe that I got from that like little novella. So I'm excited to see how I feel about his like full length work that has nothing to do with Stephen King. Tiffany, I've been dragging my feet when it comes to this book because I don't want to read it because I don't want to be angry. Do you know what I mean? I'm like 50-50 of like, I could love it, but like the other part is like, I could fucking hate it because I usually hate most of her writing. That is Kirsten White and that is Lucy Undying. I've had so many people be like, that was dog shit. And then other people be like, that was amazing. So I don't know where I'm gonna fall, but I'm excited, if not like a little bit apprehensive about it because I want to love it, Tiffany. I want Kirsten to literally pop her pussy right on my fucking face. But at the same time, my hopes diminished. From what I know, this is a Dracula retelling, and from what people have told me, it's gay, which is always a plus in my in my heart and in my mind. The question is like, will I like it? Who knows? Only one way to find out. I might read it and I might put it in like a reading vlog. Who knows? I want to talk about Amanda Lamb. Amanda is a viewer. She's a patron. She sent me 2 books in like the span of like a week, I think, maybe 2 weeks, from my Amazon wish list. The way that I literally was like, Amanda, are you my sugar daddy? It's so nice. But Amanda, fucking thanks. Fucking thank you, okay? That's all I have to say. Thank you. Anyway, she sent me Love Immortal, which is like gay dark academia romance, and I do want to read this. But then she also sent me this, The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. My patrons are talking about the sequel to this book because a few of them were like really, really excited that the sequel was being announced and like released. I was literally like, what is that? Literally never heard of it. And they were like, Jordaline, it's so good. It's so fucking good. And I was like, what? Oh my God, I should like add this to my cart. And I added it to my wish list on Amazon. And then Amanda, first of all, she left me a note, which like, thank you. But then also she got it for me. Thank you, Amanda. From what my patrons described, this is a Sherlock and Watson kind of book. I don't think it's explicitly a retelling. I do think though that it's inspired by. I kind of wanted it to be gay, but the patrons were like, no, girly pop, it's not gay. Watson is a girl. And I was like, okay, you know what? I can read about the heteros every now and again. I'm not like super heterophobic or whatever. Other than that, I've got no idea. And I kind of want to go into it blind. I do want to read this, and I also want to read this in March. So thank you so much to Amanda. We have 3 books left. I also want to read The Crown and the Collar, which is a fantasy werewolf romance. It's about this prince who like turns into a werewolf, into like an alpha daddy, and the little twink that he like falls in love with, okay? So the twink's name I think is like Peter. He like lives on a farm, and the king's like people, they like come to the farm and they're like, hey, the prince wants you to be his whore. And Peter is like, okay, fine, sure. Peter goes to live in the palace with the prince or with the king or whatever. I think he's a prince. And they fall in love. All I know, Tiffany, is I got this for $13 on Amazon because the binding is like a little bit crooked. So it was on sale, and God bless. Last books I want to mention are these ones, because once again, these are books that I forgot that I owned. These are books that I was like, wait a minute, those are things that I bought with my money and I never actually read. I know for a fact that everyone loves this series, which is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. The way that this shit had everyone in like a chokehold like 6 years ago, this is the 3rd book. I don't have the 2nd book. For some reason, I bought the 1st book. I bought the 3rd book, but I never, for some reason, bought the 2nd one because I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know why. I can't help but think like, what if I perish? What if I die having not read this? And I get to those pearly fucking gates, bro. And they look at me and they say, you bought the 5th season, but you never read it. And then I will have to say, you're right, Your Honor, God. And they'll be like, too bad, you're going to hell. And then they'll like pull a lever and the clouds will part underneath me and I will be sent into flames. Like, what if that's what happens? So I have to read this. Am I crazy? I have to read this so I don't get sent to hell. I literally also have no idea what this is about. It says that it starts with a great red rift across the hearts of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. That sounds scary. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal, a long dormant wound rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, where there is no mercy. Me? No idea. But I'm gonna read it because everyone loves it. And so I do too. Can I also say the 2nd book is so pretty that it's crazy I didn't buy it. Why have I never bought the 2nd book when it's literally stunning? Anyway, maybe after I read this, I'll be like, oh my God, I need the 2nd book. And then I'll buy the 2nd book. My friends, my family, my familia, thank you so much for being here today with me. It's been so much fun. It's been so great. I've loved this. I've loved our time together. I just can't help but feel like inspired by you, Tiffany. You keep me young. obviously. Anyway, let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. I'd love to know. Let me know also if you think I should start an ASMR channel where I just tap my long ass nails on books and that's it. Let me know. I might do it on Patreon, who knows. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to hit subscribe because we talk about spooky shit, talk about creepy shit, we talk about the crown and the collar and the tainted cup and shit. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay gorgeous, stay beautiful. I know you will, you always do. Okay, bye. Goodbye, Tiffany. It's been so good seeing you. I hope you take care. Goodbye, see you. Goodbye, love you, see you, bye.